The bank alert flashed across my phone screen while I reviewed my medical school application for the 100th time. My coffee mug clattered against the kitchen counter as I read the words. Unauthorized withdrawal attempt, $400,000. Blood rushed in my ears. The quiet kitchen closed in around me, the morning sunlight suddenly harsh against the granite countertops. My grandfather's portrait watched from above the antique sideboard, his stern expression a reminder of everything he'd sacrificed to secure my future. My hands shook as I dialed Angela's number. 1 ring. 2 rings. The silence between each tone stretched like pulled taffy. Meredith. My financial attorney's voice carried the careful neutrality I'd learned to dread. I was about to call you. Angela, what's happening? A pause then. Someone forged Travis's signature. They tried to transfer nearly 2/3 of the trust. The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the edge of the counter, my knees threatening to buckle. How? I'm sending you a recording, the caller claimed to be you, authorizing an emergency withdrawal. My phone buzzed. I switched to speaker, and a familiar voice filled my kitchen honey sweet, perfectly practiced. Yes, this is Meredith Ellis. I discussed this with my brother Travis. We both agree this is the best use of the education fund. Brittany, my brother's wife of 3 months. The memory of her at Mom's memorial service rose unbidden designer black dress, perfectly curled hair, red-soled shoes clicking against the church floor. She'd cornered me by the reception table, gesturing at my simple apartment visible through the parish hall windows. All that education money just sitting there, she'd said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Such a shame. I pressed my palm flat against the cool counter, fighting the urge to be sick. 8 years. 8 years since I'd stood in a different kitchen, wearing my white medical student's coat, listening to the call that changed everything. Mom's tests came back. Sarah's voice had cracked. It's stage 4. I'd looked down at that crisp white coat, the dream I'd carried since childhood. Then I'd folded it carefully, placed it in a box, and stepped into a different life, one of night shifts and second jobs, of helping Sarah finish high school while watching our mother fade. Through it all, Grandpa had been our rock. The day he established the education trust still blazed in my memory. This money is for your return to medicine, he'd said, his weathered hand gripping mine. Nothing else. Travis will help protect your future as co-trustee. Some people see money as opportunity. Others see it as something to take. Now I understood the weight behind those words. The signs had been there. Brittany's careful examination of every item in my apartment when she'd visited, like an appraiser at an estate sale. The family dinner 2 weeks ago, her casual suggestion about pooling family resources. Travis had stayed silent, studying his plate while Brittany leaned forward. At your age? Wouldn't it be better to help family instead? I'd met her gaze across the table. Grandpa believed in finishing what we start. My phone buzzed again. Angela's text carried attachments: Brittany's credit report, a trail of destruction across 3 states, $178,000 in hidden debt, luxury purchases, payday loans, casino withdrawals. The last image stopped my breath. A mugshot, 5 years old, showing Brittany with darker hair but the same calculating eyes. The name beneath read, Amanda Wells wanted for fraud in Texas. Travis doesn't know who he married. The words escaped in a whisper, barely audible above the hum of my refrigerator. My brother, who'd shared a sandwich with me every day in elementary school, who'd taught me to ride a bike and pulled me out of my first teenage heartbreak. My brother, who'd just become another stepping stone in Brittany's careful plan. I pulled up my medical school application on my laptop, the personal essay I'd labored over for weeks. The cursor blinked at the end of a sentence about perseverance in the face of adversity, about honoring sacrifices made and promises kept. Grandpa's portrait caught the morning light, his eyes holding the same steady wisdom I remembered. The education trust hadn't just been money to him. It had been his final gift, a chance to resurrect a dream I'd set aside for love of family. Now I had to decide, what would protecting that dream cost? And was I ready to pay the price? Angela's email arrived at 3 p.m. For the whole morning and now afternoon, I've been looking for the accounts and bank statements. The soft glow of my laptop screen illuminated draft emails and Travis's shared family account messages discussing emergency access to my unused funds. My stomach clenched as I scrolled through. Brittany's meticulous research into trust conditions, each document cataloged with the precision of a predator studying prey. The message history stretched back 14 months, long before she'd met Travis at that fundraising gala, before she'd complimented his Watch Our Father's Rolex with such carefully crafted interest. My phone buzzed. Sarah's name lit up the screen. Mur? My sister's voice carried a tremor I hadn't heard since Mom's final days. Brittany came by earlier. She wanted me to sign some papers, said it was for your own good. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the edge of my desk, steadying myself. What kind of papers? Something about temporary power of attorney. She said you were struggling with burnout? Sarah's voice hardened. I told her I'd need to talk to you first. She didn't like that. I closed my eyes, remembering how Brittany had watched me at Mom's memorial service. Not with sympathy, with calculation. You did the right thing. Don't sign anything. Mur, what's happening? I'll explain everything soon. Just be careful around her. The line went quiet for a moment. Already am. She reminds me of that financial advisor who tried to get Mom to change her will during chemo. My throat tightened. Yeah, she does. After hanging up, I stared at the bank alert still open on my screen. The signature on the transfer authorization looked nothing like Travis's careful penmanship, but it matched perfectly with the flowing script on Brittany's wedding thank you cards. I was resolute to reveal her true colors, so I wanted to confront them in person. And with that thought in mind, I went for the drive to my brother's house. The drive to Travis's house felt endless. Each familiar landmark, the elementary school where he'd shared his lunch with me, the park where he'd taught me to ride a bike pressed against my chest like physical weight. He answered the door in his old college sweatshirt, hair rumpled from sleep. Meredith, what are you? I held up the bank alert. We need to talk. His face closed like a shutter. There must be some mistake, he says after I tell him what his wife did and how she created such a mess. The only mistake was thinking she married you for love. The sound of heels on hardwood interrupted us. Brittany appeared in the foyer, designer purse dangling from one arm. Her eyes narrowed for a fraction of a second before tears welled up. I was just trying to help our family. Her voice cracked perfectly. You weren't even using it. We have real needs now. Real needs? The words tasted bitter. Like the casino withdrawals? Or the maxed out credit cards you're hiding from my brother? Travis stepped between us, hands raised. Let's all calm down. Maybe we could talk about sharing some of the fund. Brittany pressed closer to him, her manicured hand gripping his arm. Family helps family. Don't be selfish, Meredith. Travis, I pulled out my phone, pulled up the photo Angela had sent. Look at this. He squinted at the screen. The mugshot showed Brittany with darker hair, but the same calculating eyes. His face drained of color as he read the name beneath. Amanda Wells. We found an investment opportunity, he said weakly. Something that could help everyone. The only thing she's invested in is finding men with access to family money. I swiped to the next image, credit report showing a trail of destruction across 3 states. You're not her first target, just her latest. Brittany's tears vanished. You, ungrateful little, she caught herself, forced her features back into concern. Travis, honey, she's trying to come between us. Just like she did with your last girlfriend. The girlfriend you told everyone I scared away? I turned to Travis. Ask her about the email she sent Karen, pretending to be you. The one ending your relationship right before you were going to propose. His head snapped toward Brittany. What? She backed away, grabbing her purse. I don't have to listen to these lies. I'm late for yoga. The front door slammed behind her. Travis sank onto the stairs, head in his hands. The trust fund. She said you'd agreed to help us start a business. The only business she's starting is in Mexico. I showed him the one-way ticket confirmation Angela had found. Without you. His shoulders shook. I sat beside him, like we used to during thunderstorms when we were kids. The familiar scent of his sweatshirt, laundry detergent, and coffee brought tears to my eyes. I've got a meeting with the bank officers tonight, I said quietly. We're removing you as co-trustee. He nodded without looking up. You should. I didn't protect you like I promised Grandpa I would. You're not the first person she's fooled. I touched his arm. But you can help make sure you're the last. After I left his place, I went to meet with bank officials, and after the plans were made, I went home. That night, I sat in my apartment surrounded by legal documents instead of medical textbooks. My interview acceptance letter lay unopened on the coffee table. The trust fund was secure now, but at what cost? My phone chimed with a text from an unknown number. Amanda Wells ruined my brother's life too. Call me. I looked up at Grandpa's portrait, remembering his words about chess. The game isn't won in the first move. It's won in the quiet moments between moves. Another text lit up my screen, this one from Travis. Found something in B's desk drawer. Passport photos, different names. I picked up my grandfather's watch, running my thumb over its worn face. The second hand moved steadily forward, marking time like it had through every family crisis. Through Mom's diagnosis, through nights of studying, through all the yearning to return to medicine. Some dreams waited patiently. Others had to be defended. My phone rang again, Angela's number. Meredith? Her voice was sharp. She's been photographing your financial documents. And there's something else. Flight reservations to Mexico City. 2 tickets. I looked at the stack of legal papers on my coffee table. At my medical school application materials. At the portrait of the man who'd believed in my future enough to protect it. Grandpa taught me that protecting what matters means making hard choices. I straightened my spine. I'm ready to make them. 2 days later, the family room at Aunt Helen's house smelled of potpourri and pot roast. We were invited for a family gathering after all the mess, so we had to confront each other there. Brittany perched on the edge of the floral sofa, dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. We're just so worried about Meredith, ever since her mother passed. I gripped my water glass tighter, ice cubes clinking against crystal. Around me, familiar faces wore expressions of rehearsed concern. Cousin Rachel nodded along, while Uncle Steve muttered something about caretaker burnout. Even Mrs. Peterson from next door had been invited to witness my apparent breakdown. Travis sat in Dad's old armchair, his shoulders hunched as if trying to disappear into the worn leather. He wouldn't meet my eyes. The way she clings to that trust fund, Brittany continued, her voice honeyed with false sympathy. It's not healthy. We only want to help her move forward. The room felt smaller with each word, decades of family photos watching from the walls. I touched my grandfather's watch, its steady tick grounding me. The sunlight caught its worn face, the same light that had illuminated his study the day he taught me chess. The quiet player sees 3 moves ahead, he'd said, moving his bishop with careful precision. Let your opponent reveal their strategy, then counter when they least expect it. My fingers found the acceptance letter in my purse, crisp edges sharp against my skin. Brittany's voice droned on about family resources and practical solutions. Each word revealed another card in her hand. Perhaps, Travis cleared his throat, studying the carpet, perhaps the education money could help everyone. Times are different now, and the leather of my purse creaked as I withdrew the envelope. The medical school seal caught the light as I placed it on Aunt Helen's coffee table. The room fell silent. I start classes in September. My voice carried clearly in the hush. The admissions board was particularly impressed by my personal essay about returning to medicine after serving as a caregiver. Brittany's smile flickered, a crack in her perfect mask. But at your age, is this really practical? That money could... My grandfather didn't leave me money. The words rang with quiet certainty. He left me a future. Travis's head snapped up, his eyes catching the flash of rage beneath his wife's composed expression. Before she could respond, the front door chimed. Sarah breezed in, carrying a familiar manila envelope. Sorry, I'm late. I brought copies of Meredith's application essays. The one about Mom made me cry. She paused, reading the room. Did I interrupt something? Aunt Helen rose slowly from her chair, arthritis forgotten in the moment. Leonard always said Meredith was born to heal, just like him. Her voice wavered. After Robert passed, Leonard was the doctor who... She pressed her hand to her mouth. My phone buzzed. Angela's text lit up the screen. 3 more victims willing to testify about Amanda Wells. Meeting tomorrow. Brittany. Travis's voice had lost its uncertainty. Where did you say you went to college? The grandfather clock in the corner chimed twice, marking the hour. Brittany's smile grew brittle as she glanced at her watch. I should check on dinner. The roast. The one you said was in the oven? Aunt Helen's eyebrows rose. I didn't start it yet, dear. I reached into my bag again, removing a thin folder of bank statements. Travis, there's something you need to see. His hands trembled as he read, color draining from his face. Hotel reservations? Plane tickets to? Mexico? He looked up. In your maiden name? Brittany stood, designer heels sinking into the carpet. You always did think you were better than everyone. The masks had fallen away, leaving something harder in her eyes. Little Miss Perfect, with her trust fund and her dreams. She's not better than everyone. Travis rose beside me, shoulders straight. But she's better than this. The room crackled with tension. My phone buzzed again. A conference call reminder for tomorrow's meeting with fraud victims from Dallas, Phoenix, and Seattle. Evidence mounting with each passing hour. I need some air. The words scraped my throat as I grabbed my keys. I drove to Mom's grave. I felt I needed to breathe again. 20 minutes later, I knelt beside Mom's grave, setting fresh daisies against the marble. I'm going back to medicine. Raindrops and petals hiding my tears. But first, I have to protect what Grandpa left to make that possible. My fingers traced the engraved letters of her name. I won't let what we sacrificed be stolen. This sudden rain has now fallen harder, soaking through my blazer. But something had shifted, like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place. 8 years of sacrifice hadn't broken me, they'd built something stronger. My phone rang, Travis's name lighting up the screen. His voice cracked with panic. She's emptying our accounts right now. Multiple withdrawals across. Bank alerts flooded my screen. Security camera footage showed Brittany entering First National's downtown branch, manila envelope clutched in her manicured hands. A smile tugged at my lips, grandfather's chess lessons echoing in memory. The quiet player sees 3 moves ahead. This is exactly what we've been waiting for. The rain washed over Mom's gravestone, carrying away the last traces of doubt. Sometimes protecting a dream means making hard choices. Sometimes justice wears a white coat. Above me, storm clouds parted, letting through a single shaft of sunlight. Time to make my move. We had prepared everything in advance, and now 2 days later she started moving even faster than we thought. I went to pick Travis at home, and we headed to my financial advisor, Angela. The police detective's business card lay face up on Angela's polished conference table, its edges worn from my nervous handling. 8 officers waited at strategic locations across the city. Travis's wire gleamed under his collar, a tiny red light confirming the connection. You don't have to do this, I said, studying my brother's face. The shadows under his eyes matched mine. Travis adjusted his tithe blue one Brittany had given him for Christmas. Yes, I do. Angela's heels clicked against hardwood as she crossed to the window. Bank security just confirmed she's making her move. My phone buzzed. Another alert, attempted withdrawal from Travis's retirement account. The amount made my stomach clench his entire life savings. I placed my phone screen up beside the detective's card, waiting for the next notification. She's at First National, Angela said. Her voice carried the steady calm I'd learned to trust. Called someone named Mark about accelerating the timeline. Police are tracking the number. Travis's hands curled into fists. I knew that name, the charming friend who'd first introduced him to Brittany at a charity gala. The pieces clicked, a patient hunter selecting her prey. My brother's voice caught. I should have seen it. You weren't supposed to see it. That was the point. The next hours stretched like cold taffy. Alert after alert pinged on my phone as Brittany attempted to drain every account she could access. Each rejection pushed her closer to panic, closer to mistakes. I learned from Grandpa's chess lessons sometimes victory means waiting for your opponent to realize they've already lost. Travis's phone lit up with Brittany's facia sunny photo from their wedding day. Her voice through the speaker dripped honey and tears. Baby, your sister is trying to destroy our marriage. She's always been jealous of what we have, of our happiness. I watched my brother's jaw tighten. 8 years of watching our mother fade had taught me about different kinds of pain. This one lived in the shoulders, in the careful way Travis held himself still. Come home, he said. We need to talk. The line went dead. Angela nodded to the detective, who spoke quietly into his radio. Time to close the trap. At First National, Brittany's smile faltered as the fraud investigator placed her documentation on the counter. Mrs. Chen, who'd known our family since Mom's illness, stood with arms crossed. These signatures don't match our records, Mrs. Ellis. Mrs. Chen's voice carried through the bank's security feed. And this power of attorney appears to be falsified. There must be some confusion. Brittany's laugh held a brittle edge. My husband and his sister authorized. Did they authorize the withdrawal attempts in Denver? Or the accounts in Houston under the name Amanda Wells? The security camera caught the exact moment Brittany's mask cracked. Her fingers drummed against the marble counter, the same nervous tell I'd noticed at Mom's memorial service when she'd asked about the trust fund. Travis discovered the second phone in their bedroom closet, tucked inside a boot box marked Winter Storage. Text messages to unknown numbers mapped out a careful campaign. Search histories revealed research into trust fund structures, inheritance law, power of attorney requirements. A false passport bore the name that had triggered Angela's investigation, Amanda Wells. My brother's hands shook as he read through the messages. "I was never your husband," he whispered. "I was just your access." Later that day, when Brittany's key turned in the lock, Travis and I sat at the kitchen table he'd bought for Sunday family dinners. The same table where she'd suggested pooling resources while examining my medical school application. She froze in the doorway, designer purse dangling from manicured fingers. The confident mask slipped back into place, a transformation I'd seen too many times to trust. "What's going on?" Her voice held just the right note of confusion. Travis pressed play on his phone. Her own voice filled the room. "Your pathetic sister wasted her chance at that money. I wasn't about to let it sit there when we could." The purse hit the floor. Brittany's eyes darted between us, a cornered animal searching for escape. "Travis." She stepped toward him, hands outstretched. "Baby, let me explain." "Explain what?" His voice carried the weight of 8 years watching me work double shifts, of countless nights I'd spent studying after caring for Mom. "My sister sacrificed her dream to care for our mother. What have you ever sacrificed?" The mask shattered completely. Brittany's beauty twisted into something ugly, something true. She was stupid enough to give up a fortune for some foolish promise. I wasn't. Police radios crackled in the hallway. Detective Wilson stepped into view, Angela beside him with a thick folder of evidence. "Amanda Wells," the detective said. "Or do you prefer Patricia Turner? We have witnesses from Houston eager to discuss your previous investment opportunities." She was arrested the same moment. Aunt Carol called that evening, voice thick with tears. Uncle James left a rambling voicemail about being too quick to judge. I went home, leaving my brother in that place, broken. After all the fuss and police, once I came home, Sarah arrived with Mom's lasagna recipe and a bottle of wine. The neighbors who'd watched me care for Mom waved from their porch, understanding in their eyes. I'd learned during those long years of illness that the community reveals itself in quiet moments. 2 weeks later, Travis moved into a small apartment 3 blocks from mine. I helped him pack, carefully wrapping the chess set Grandpa had given him for his 10th birthday. The pieces felt heavy with memory. One Wednesday afternoon, I was with Travis at my home. I received a call from Angela. "The DA offered her a deal," Angela said over speakerphone. "The evidence makes defense almost impossible, especially with the other victims coming forward." "Take it," I said. Travis looked up sharply. "This isn't about money anymore." But the final blow came from Detective Wilson. A pattern emerged across state lines: careful research into families with trusts or inheritances. A network of accomplices who made introductions, who opened doors. The brother-like friend named Mark appeared in photo after photo, always beside a smiling Mark who didn't yet know they were prey. I stood at my window, watching sunrise paint the city in shades of promise. Mom's final words echoed in memory. "Finish what you started, sweetheart. The world needs healers." "She needs to be stopped," I told Travis, who sat surrounded by moving boxes and broken trust, "not just from taking my future, but everyone else's too." 8 years ago, I'd set aside my white coat to honor one promise. Now it was time to keep another. A week later, I need to meet an unexpected and above all unwanted visitor at my work. Travis still loves me. Brittany's perfume filled the small conference room, sweet and cloying. Drop the charges and I disappear forever. Simple as that. I studied her manicured nails drumming against the polished table, remembering how those same fingers had forged my brother's signature. The morning sun caught her diamond ring, the one that had nearly emptied Travis's savings account. 200,000. She leaned forward, voice honeyed. "Call it reasonable compensation for my inconvenience." My grandfather's watch ticked steadily against my wrist. 1 breath. 2 breaths. The silence stretched between us like piano wire. "You know what happens if you fight me?" Her mask slipped, revealing something sharp beneath the charm. Every Christmas, every birthday, every family gathering becomes about this moment. The sister who sent Travis's wife to prison. Is that really the legacy you want? The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. 8 years of night shifts had taught me patience. 8 years of watching my mother fade had taught me about real legacy. You're right about one thing. I met her gaze. This is about legacy, just not the one you think. We had our first courtroom confrontation the following week. After almost a month of preparations, it was finally over. Or it has finally begun. The courtroom doors felt heavy under my hands that afternoon. Travis sat in the front row, shoulders curved inward, while Brittany's attorney painted him as the mastermind. A strategic victim, they called me. Unstable, obsessed with money I hadn't earned. The Ellis Trust was intended for education, Brittany's lawyer argued, gesturing at the jury. Yet Miss Ellis hoarded it for 8 years while her family struggled. This case isn't about theft, it's about a sister's refusal to help her brother in his time of need. My acceptance letter to medical school burned in my bag, its future now uncertain. The dean's office had already called twice about the concerning situation. Angela rose slowly, each movement precise. The timeline she'd assembled covered 3 boards, documenting every calculated step of Brittany's approach. The jury leaned forward as the audio played Brittany's voice, shifting between identities like radio stations, each perfectly tuned to her target's vulnerabilities. When my turn came, I touched my grandfather's watch for strength. My mother died believing I would return to medicine. My voice carried to the back row where Sarah sat with our aunt. She spent her final months apologizing for needing my help, no matter how many times I told her that love doesn't keep score. But Brittany? The word tasted bitter. She didn't just try to steal money. She tried to steal the future my mother died believing I would have. The evidence mounted like incoming tide. 5 victims from different states took the stand, their stories echoing mine. Bank records traced Brittany's path across 7 years and 3 identities. The jury's expressions hardened with each revelation. Travis's testimony cut deepest. He spoke of love letters now revealed as reconnaissance, of anniversary gifts purchased with other victims' savings. His voice cracked only once. I thought I was protecting my sister's future. Instead, I nearly helped destroy it. The judge's gavel cut through the murmurs as Brittany's former accomplice took the stand. Their text messages filled the screen behind him, a year of planning before Travis ever met his future wife. Her notebook, recovered from a storage unit, listed other families marked for targeting, other dreams waiting to be converted to cash. You targeted people during their most vulnerable moments. The judge's words rang with quiet fury. Grief, illness, loss. You saw their pain as an opportunity. 6 years. No early release. Full restitution to all victims. Brittany's composure finally shattered as the bailiff approached. Her elegant mask crumbled into something feral and sharp. You think you've won? She spat the words at me, handcuffs glinting. This was your one shot at playing doctor, and you wasted it on revenge. The courtroom fell silent, waiting for my response. 8 years of night shifts. 8 years of watching dreams gather dust while I changed bedpans and counted pills. 8 years of my mother's apologies and my grandfather's faith. This was never a game to me. The words came softly, meant for her ears alone. Travis stood beside me as she disappeared through the heavy doors. His hands shook as he pulled out a small velvet box. She made me spend nearly my entire savings on this. The diamond caught the afternoon light, scattering rainbows across his palm. Sell it, turn it into something real. The steps outside felt warmer than they should for April. Travis's apology hung between us, heavy as the ring in my pocket. A chess piece clicked against wood somewhere nearby, 2 old men playing at a park table, just like Grandpa used to. The medical school letter waited on my kitchen table that evening after we returned home, still sealed. Travis touched the envelope's edge. After everything, can you still forgive me? Grandpa's chess set sat in its familiar place by the window. The carved queen stood slightly apart, watching over her domain. 8 years of waiting, 8 years of faith. I traced the letter's edge, feeling the weight of all our choices. The hardest person to give is always yourself. The seal broke cleanly under my fingers as evening light painted the kitchen gold. We healed in our ways, or we still do. We focus on freedom and development. After all ups and downs, it was time to step into the medicine field again. Now, one Monday morning, the familiar weight of the white coat settles across my shoulders as I step through the medical school's sliding doors. 8 years. The hallways smell the cement antiseptic and possibility. But everything else has shifted, transformed by the years between then and now. Ellis. Professor Martinez's voice carries down the corridor. She pauses her hurried stride, recognition lighting her face. You're finally back where you belong. I touch the lapel of my coat, feeling the embroidered name that matches the one on my grandfather's portrait. The smile that rises feels different from the uncertain one I wore here before, steadier, earned through more than just academic achievement. The scholarship committee meeting runs during the whole day and late into the evening. My hands move across the final paperwork, establishing the fund for medical students who've served as caregivers. The recovered money from Brittany's attempted theft has found its purpose. When the plaque arrives next week, it will read, "For those who pause their dreams to care for others." Travis leans against the doorframe of the conference room, his presence a quiet support. He's traded his expensive suits for simple button-downs these days, but his shoulders carry less tension. The first award ceremony is already marked on his calendar. You didn't have to stay, I tell him, gathering the documents. Yes, I did. His voice carries the weight of understanding we've built in therapy. Each session peeled back layers of guilt, rebuilt trust degree by degree. The dinners we've reinstated feel different now, less performance, more truth. After the work was done, we headed home. My apartment near the medical center fills with afternoon light as Sarah unpacks Mom's old stethoscope. The brass gleams, restored to its original shine. Found it in the attic, she says, running her finger along the tubing. Thought you might want it back. Angela arrives with a bottle of wine and her usual direct smile. Our different monthly dinners have evolved beyond legal consultations to real friendship. The scent of Travis's cooking drifts from the kitchen, Grandpa's recipe for pot roast, the one that fed us through countless Sunday afternoons. The carrots need 5 more minutes, Travis calls out, sounding more like himself than he has in months. A knock at my office door pulls me from review notes. Jenny Martinez, first-year student, hovers in the doorway with red-rimmed eyes. Her father's cancer diagnosis arrived yesterday. The weight of her white coat looks too heavy for her shoulders. I don't know if I can do both, she whispers. I gesture to the chair across from my desk. Sometimes the longest route is the one that builds the strongest doctor. The words carry the weight of lived truth, though I keep the full story tucked away. Some lessons are better taught through presence than exposition. The following weekend, the cemetery grass bends under our feet as Travis and I approach Grandpa's headstone. October sun warms the granite. Travis places the chess piece, the queen, beside the fresh flowers. He always said you were the strongest piece on the board. Travis's voice catches. The therapy has helped him too, teaching him to stand alone again. My fingers trace the dates carved in stone. Strength isn't about power. It's about knowing when to move and when to wait. Monday is unexpectedly tiring. The financial literacy workshop runs longer than scheduled. Students lean forward in their seats as I explain trust protections, compound interest, and the importance of written agreements. My warnings about protecting what matters land differently now. In the back of the room, a law professor takes notes. My case study appears on her syllabus next semester. Later that night, the library grows quiet as midnight approaches. Medical texts surround me, their familiar weight a comfort rather than a burden. The clock on the wall reads 2:17 a.m., the same time I used to clock out from my second job at the diner. My grandfather's watch rests cool against my wrist. The second hand moves with quiet certainty, marking time's steady march forward. Around me, the dreams I thought I'd lost have simply been waiting, patient as chess pieces before the game begins. Dreams don't die, I whisper to the empty room. They wait for you to be ready. The words settle into truth, carried on the scent of old books and new beginnings. At 33, I'm exactly where I need to be, not despite the waiting, but because of it. Every delayed step built the road that led me home.